I recently visited Hohenschönhausen, a jail in Berlin, with friends. The jail was run by the Stasi. It was just used as an interrogation jail for political prisoners incarcerated there. I remember walking around with a tour group in shock and in disbelief. Having visited Poland, I read a lot about communism and how the Polish people fought the system very openly with mass demonstrations and a good deal of propaganda. Communism in Berlin was something very different. I was shocked at how the Stasi treated political prisoners. While in the exhibition, I saw a photograph of Erika Wallace, nee Glaser, and read the information card. I was fascinated by her story and decided to read her life story, which I offer you in a condensed form. So enjoy, and I hope you learned something like I did. Please note, I have included horrific scenes from archive footage of death camps. Erika Glaser was born in Pomerania in northeastern Germany on February the 19th, 1922. Her father, half Jewish, practiced medicine there. Her father had been a member of the Democratic Party and was outspoken anti-Nazi. In December 1935, when she was 13 years old, they decided to have a new life in Spain. Things were still hard in Spain, but they would get even harder when the Spanish Civil War broke out in July 1936. The Glasers could not return to Germany or anywhere else. They were stateless and had no travel papers. Dr. Glaser was given a position with the Loyalist Army medical unit. Later, when the Loyalist forces were purged of all foreigners, he was transferred from its medical headquarters to the unit that served the largely Communist International Brigade. He served in this unit as captain until the end of the war in 1939. Erika took a nursing course and after completing it served in the Loyalist Army hospitals. As the Civil War drew to a close, a League of Nations commission entered Spain to disarm the foreign armies. Noel Field, then a League of Nations employee, was a commission member. Dr. Glaser met him when Field visited the hospital where the doctor was headed. The Fields and the Glasers met socially after the International Brigade was disarmed. Fighting ended for the foreigners in Spain, and the Glasers asked the Fields to take care of her for a time, or in other words, adopt their daughter and take her to America. When Erika Glaser turned 18, She had her own political views and did not think of herself as a communist or consciously pro-communist in the ideological sense. One clear thing, however, is that she had reached the point where she was completely willing to work with communists, even in illegal activity, to help fight Nazism. As a nurse, she started hearing things about the communist movement, and patients and colleagues started to influence her. But it was her books and adopted father who became a bigger influence on her thinking. The conclusions which she reached were purely sentimental reasons, but she knew she needed to fight fascism in Germany. In 1940, through no field, Erika met a man named Bruno Goldhammer in Zurich. Goldhammer was a German communist refugee, the first of a long chain of communists to whom she was to work.
I met this man, and it was him. Because of Goldhammer, I started my political activities, to a certain extent. I talked to Goldhammer about my desire to do something, to work, and maybe even to go to Germany and work there illegally. He was interested and gave me some instructions about this, that, and the other, and he was supposed to get a few assignments. But it never come to nothing because he got himself arrested shortly afterwards. Well, there I sat again, all by myself, and couldn't do anything until I found the next man, who more or less replaced this man Goldhammer. His name was Sperling. He later also became quite a leader of the Communist Party in Germany. He had all sorts of ideas for me. He was even willing to send me to Germany to do some illegal work there. Goldhammer has been taken to prison. Now, what am I going to do? I am all by myself, again. So he got me into touch with this other German. I've said already, I think, that he wanted to send me to Germany and give me all sorts of assignments, but out of that, nothing come either because he, too, got himself arrested. So then found a third man. Also, German, Meuter was his name, whom I met, I think, twice, also, nothing of importance come out of this. I remember he once gave me some material, an illegal report from the underground in Germany about what went on in Germany, größer als anti-Nazi sentiments in Germany, and so forth.
Over the next few years, Erika moved around a lot and became an active communist, but she at this stage wasn't a member of the Communist Party. She had been arrested, interrogated and jailed a number of times. Noel Field introduced Erika to Leo Buer, otherwise known as Rudolf Katz. Buer was a highly official member of the Communist Party in Germany. He gave Erika her first assignment, which she considered quite important in such a mission. Buer, however, was arrested by Swiss authorities a short while later on a charge of espionage. She visited Buer from time to time at a camp for political prisoners in which he was being held. During these visits, she became acquainted with many other German communists, and also saw Goldham, Sperling, Mutter, Fish, and other leading communist refugees she had known, all of whom had been arrested and convicted on various charges. Erica regularly talked with these people about what she could do for the cause. Though not a Communist Party member, they knew her as a communist sympathizer. Some of these communists were released and allowed to travel freely in Switzerland. She developed closer contacts with them and kept insisting on assignments, but got little more than some typing and secretarial work. Erica completed her studies at the University of Geneva in 1944, and her life became one of the secrets of smuggling Germans out of France, across Switzerland and into Germany, so they could carry on illegal work there. Her job was to organize a stretch of territory between Geneva and the French border, to receive people, put them on trains, and see that they got fed. Through her communist contacts and the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, she was finally able to move to Berlin under the guise of a secretary working for the Americans. While working for the OSS, she then discovered she was working for an espionage group. At the end of 1945, Erica took leave from the OSS to visit her parents in England. When she returned to Germany in January 1946, she resigned from her OSS position, registered as a German citizen, and became a member of the Communist Party of Hesse. In late 1947, the Communist Party considered her unreliable. She was accused of a pro-American attitude, called in and questioned her about her American contacts. In 1946, Erica met Robert Walsh, a captain serving with the United States Army in Germany. At this time, he was an executive officer with the American military government, and she was engaged to him, a fact that made her highly suspect in communist eyes. In December 1947, Erica quit the Communist Party at the first opportunity, left Germany too. By 1950, Noel Fields and other party members were disappearing in Berlin. She decided to go back to Berlin, even though the American consulate recommended she should not go. A few days after her arrival in Berlin, Mrs. Walsh was arrested by the SSD, the State Security Police, and taken to Hohenschönhausen prison. After 8 months, she was transferred to the Russian Karlshorst prison in Berlin for 3 or 4 months. She was then sent to another German jail for Hohenschönhausen in September 1955. She was sent back to Karlshorst. In December, she was shifted to the Lichtenberg Russian prison, where she was tried, convicted of espionage, and sentenced to death. She was shipped to Russia for execution in January 1953. She was imprisoned in Brest for a week or two and then sent to Moscow to be held in a death cell for 6 months. In July 1953, after Stalin's death, she was told she would not be shot. Her sentence had been changed to 15 years in slave labor camp. She was transferred to the notorious Volkyta labor camp in a far eastern Siberia, arriving in August. She remained there until December 1954, working in a railroad construction gang. She was then sent to Abis, a camp near Volkyta, until March or April of 1955, when she was shipped to another of Moscow's prisons, questioned for a few days, then sent back to Abis. She was again transferred to Moscow in September 1955, where she was told that her case was under revision. 2 weeks later, she was released. Soviet officials offered her any sum of money she cared to set as a indemnity payment for imprisoning her unjustifiably for 5 years. Unlike Noel and Herman Field, who accepted large sums, she refused indemnity, saying she wanted only her freedom. She left Moscow for Western Germany, arriving in Berlin on October the 27th, 1955. A few days later, she flew to England to visit her mother, who was living in Epsom. Erica's husband returned to his home in the United States, bringing their children with him in the late 1950s. For almost 4 years, he knew nothing about what had happened to Erica. In late 1954, while held in Volkyta, Mrs. Walsh was permitted to write for the very first time. Her letters to her husband, written then, were the first definite word they had received from her, and she was alive. After her release in 1955, she moved to the United States, where she worked as a teacher. She died there in 1993. If you can get hold of her autobiography, I would certainly recommend it. I hope you enjoyed this short documentary about her life.